The Premier League really was born, and this has actually never been documented properly. So in this room today, you're going to hear something probably you've actually never read about or seen on television before. And the story goes back to the early 1980s. Can you believe football and television had a very strained relationship? So much so that English football, when it was on television, do you know how much money it received? Zero. That's the mid-80s. Well, there was one particular gentleman who worked for ITV. He was the Director General of London Weekend Television, a gentleman called Greg Dyke. Greg was a very progressive thinker. He asked me to call 4 other clubs for a private dinner. We were called the Big Five. Those 5 were, in no particular order, Arsenal, Spurs, Manchester United, Liverpool and Everton. We went for a private dinner at the offices of London Weekend Television. And this must have been 1986. And Greg Dyke looked at the 5 clubs around the room and he said, you know, you guys are not getting anything for your program, for your product. Your product can drive television. We said, yes. He said, I'm going to offer you 5 clubs £1 million each, like $1.5 million. We nearly fell off our chairs. We never had that sort of thinking before. £1 million per club? Are you serious? He said, yes, we just want your rights. You 5 clubs, we want you exclusively. My first meeting ever as a director of Arsenal Football Club, which must have been in 1983, 92 clubs in a room like this, and I proposed there should be 2 substitutes. At the time, there was only 1 substitute allowed. And I said, I think there should be 2 substitutes. There's 2 substitutes in Europe. Let's have 2 substitutes in the English game. It got outvoted. Somebody at the back said, you can't have that. It's an extra bonus. It's an extra hotel room. It's an extra meal on the coach. I thought, where's the game going with that sort of thinking? Now, today, there are actually 7 substitutes on the bench, and a manager can choose 3 from 7. And there were things like this. I remember putting up at an early meeting a shirt with a name on it. I'd been to the States and I'd seen American footballers with their names on the shirts. And I said, look, here's Tony Adams, number 6, Alan Shearer, number 9, Ryan Giggs, number 11. Right? That's what we want to have for the league. It got outvoted. People said, you can't have that. That means more kit. Right? Instead of having a generic shirt which fitted everybody, here you've got to have specific shirts for each player. People didn't want it. So that was the thinking at the time, in the late 80s, early 90s. And when that happened, we decided the old first division of the Football League, 22 clubs at the time, decided to break away with the FA's permission. And the Premier League was formed. What makes a modern manager today? Well, the first thing he's got to contend with are time pressures. What other job in the world are you judged twice a week on your performance? Very few, but a manager is. A manager does not have the luxury of time on his side. He is governed by immediate results. A manager has 6 defeats on the trot. I tell you what, he's at the job centre. He'll be looking for a job very quickly, right? Because people get impatient. The fans get impatient. Above all else, the press get impatient. The press write the agenda. A manager's got something new to deal with. He has to motivate a millionaire. So how do you motivate a player who is getting £5-6 million, maybe $8-9 million a year? How do you make sure he's going to give his best, that he's going to work hard on the training ground all week, that he's going to go out there and make sure that he plays his best week in, week out? So that's one of my planks today, that I hope that maybe when you talk later on in the next few weeks, you'll try maybe and encourage, and I do too with FIFA and UEFA and all the governing bodies. Think about, let's get it on the agenda. I know what it's like to make progress in football. It's not easy. I told you when I started about getting the substitutes through, getting names on shirts through. Change does not come easily. But it needs to be continually on the agenda. If you get it on the agenda and you keep bringing it up, you've got half a chance of getting there. And if you believe in it, if you think that, well, maybe there is an argument to introduce technology, let's talk about it.